Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Author's Corner, brought to you by KNEO 91.7 FM The Word, and I'm Roberta Foster. Today I welcome Ted Greenfield to Author's Corner. He has written a book called God is in This Fight, and it's published by Eneco Press, and he'll tell you more about how to find the book at the end of the program. Let me give you a little bit of background about Ted. He is the founder and director of Invisible Angels, a nonprofit organization providing air transportation for survivors of human trafficking. A commercially rated pilot, Ted retired from the FAA in the spring of 2025, where he served as a multimedia producer. So his talents and experience are very wide, and we'll see how God has used those as we get to talk to him about his ministry. So thanks for joining me today, Ted.
Hey, thank you. Wonderful to be here.
All right, so one of the quotes from your book is, when God calls you, he doesn't start with your strengths, he starts with your surrender. So How is it you became aware of the human trafficking needs? And tell us about this call of God on your life.
Well, I'll tell you, it all started, I walked into a Bible study in 2018. I had no idea that human trafficking was even a thing in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've lived overseas. I've lived in Europe. I've lived in the Dominican Republic, in West Africa, and I'm very familiar. It's a serious issue in other countries, but I had no idea it was even happening here. And I went into a Bible study in 2018, my usual Bible study, and there was a guest there who was there to talk about human trafficking in the Baltimore and Washington D.C. area, and I was like, oh, she's lying. This can't be happening. And the exact thought that went through my head was, oh my gosh, we have Home Depot here. How could this be happening, right? And and after about 10 minutes into her presentation, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's telling the truth. And this hit me like a wet bag of cement.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just bam. And I really couldn't shake it. I remember driving home that night, and I was talking to a friend on the phone, and I said, have you heard about this? And she said, yeah, let me send you a book. It's called Undaunted by Christine Caine. And I got into that book maybe about 100 pages, and I had no idea that this horrific Auschwitz-level trauma is happening inside the United States with Americans. People think it's foreigners. No, it's American kids from suburbs and kids from foster care, and it's just real, and it just grabbed me, and I just said, yeah, I want to get involved. Send me, and away I went, and I had no idea that something like this would even capture my attention, my heart. It was completely out of left field for me, even emotionally. And it slowly took me over because God kept on revealing these breadcrumbs that I kept on following, and then the miracles started to happen.
Well, and one of those, as you write about, is how you received a donation of an aircraft. And so obviously you're in an aviation ministry, and so airplanes are kind of necessary.
Well, when this started, I had nothing. And how it all started is I contacted an organization. I started digging around online. And I contacted an organization called Trafficking Hope. I saw one of their presentations on YouTube, and I talked to the director there, and I said, hey, I'm a crazy Christian guy. I've got an idea. Do you guys ever need aircraft to transport survivors around from one place to another, to get them to medical help, to get them to safe houses, to get them back to family reunification?
Yeah.
And I thought she dropped the phone. She said, oh, my gosh, you have no idea what an answer to prayer this would be.
Wow.
This call turned into this prophetic prayer call for like 45 minutes, and she prophesied over me that I would be running an organization with a fleet of aircraft rescuing hundreds, if not thousands, of trafficking survivors.
Wow.
And I remember getting off that phone call and just saying, Lord, I have no idea how you're going to do this because I have nothing, but let's go. And what happened, everything happened in these 9-month periods of progressive revelation, but the biggest, obviously, was the aircraft. And a gentleman had prophesied over me that the perfect airplane for this ministry would be a Cessna Centurion P210, and he said it's pressurized, it's a 6-passenger plane, it's turbocharged, it has a low fuel cost, and they're about $250,000 to $500,000. And later on that night, I looked, and sure enough, that was the perfect plane for Invisible Angels, but we didn't have that money or anything. And about 9 months later, I'm back up in D.C., and I catch a sermon by Stephen Furtick from Elevation Church, and the sermon's called "When God Gives You the Green Light." And I knew something was going to happen after I heard that sermon. It was just, wow. I felt the green light from God. I really did. But, and all afternoon I was just kind of walking around just really with this expectation of anticipation, right? And I get on this website called tradeaplane.com, which is a used aircraft website. And you can get everything from a Cessna 150 to a Boeing 747 on the site, just to look at planes. And the first ad that popped up was a Cessna Centurion P210, like the gentleman had prophesied over me 9 months earlier. And all the ad said was, "I want to donate this to a nonprofit." And I contacted the guy, and he called me the next day, and I remember I was so freaked out. I was just like, "Oh, human trafficking, Jesus! Oh, you're gonna be." And he said, "Son, slow down. I want you to have the airplane." and I flew out to Kansas City where he was, and he signed over the aircraft, and we did our first trip in 2021.
Well, today I am talking with Ted Greenfield regarding his book, God is in This Fight, which is published by Echo Press, and you're listening to Author's Corner, and I'm Roberta Foster. So explain to our listeners why an airplane is so vital.
Well, it's crucial because, number one, and I didn't know this. This was a discovery on my part, too.
Sure.
Is that the transportation is the missing link in the rescue process of human trafficking survivors, because the age range is very vast. Our youngest was an 8-year-old child, and our oldest person was a 51-year-old female. And the thing is, when they're either rescued by law enforcement or when they're rescued in a safe house situation, or however that happens, and there's a myriad of ways that happens, they have to get away from their immediate environment. Number one, for their safety. Number two, for obvious security reasons. But number three, they have to get out of their environment because they're surrounded by a very negative, toxic, and destructive community. And so usually they have to get about 800 to 1,000, even across the country, 1,500 to 2,000 miles away to get into a safe house. And there's this elaborate system, a network of safe houses all over the country. Well, the question is, how do they get there? They don't have any ID. They don't have any resources. They don't have any family, because family is the most shocking statistic and aspect of the trafficking situation in the United States. Is 75% of human trafficking survivors are trafficked by family members. Family is usually the problem. So a lot of people say, "Hey, could you take them home?" Well, no, home isn't a very good place if there's a home at all, because there's many individuals that are in the foster care system and things like that. So the question was, how do we get them there? And private aircraft is the easiest way to do it, because we don't need an ID. Also, they're with a survivor advocate the entire time, so it's very comfortable. It's a very relaxed way to travel. And we fly into smaller airports, so there's no huge TSA, there's no huge lines, and usually, the safe house comes and picks them up, and we get them where they need to go.
Well, I'm sure that our listeners would enjoy hearing a rescue story that you had been involved in.
Yes, and the most touching one was, we got a call. It was in what was it? It was kind of I think it was like on a Tuesday afternoon, and it was from a Homeland Security agent that had heard about us and met us at a conference, at a human trafficking conference. And he said, "Hey, we've got an 8-year-old child. The child has been abducted by a family member and put into a child pornography ring. The child is with an agent at this city, and they said, we've contacted the mother. The child had gone missing, and we've contacted the mother, and can you collect the mother and fly up to this city for reunification and bring them both back home?" and we had both back home by lunch the next day. And that was so seamless. It was everything went perfect, and there's a lot of logistics in planning these trips. So It's not like, hey, let's just hop on the plane and go. There's quite a lot of paperwork to be done. There's forms to fill out because we're what's called a Part 135 operation. And we have to do weight and balance. We have to file flight plans. We have to have a manifest. Everything is supervised by the FAA with us. So, and then there's a huge safety component. We have a very strong safety culture, and we don't fly if it's bad weather. We don't fly at night. And, we keep everything at the highest possible safety standard that we can. And everything just went perfectly smooth. And the child was removed from the environment. And from what happened, and then I'm sure law enforcement took their course. And the one thing the agent did say to me, he said, is that the father and the teacher will never see the light of day again. And that's all I needed to hear. That's fine. Let's do our job and get them back where they need to be and deliver them and then on to the next.
Well, you've been involved with this for a number of years. As you said at the beginning of our discussion, you were surprised by the fact that there was so much human trafficking in the United States. Tell us more about how people can be involved to help put a stop to this.
Number one is awareness. And you could get on PolarisProject.com. You could really just, do a simple Google search for human trafficking in the United States awareness, and you'll get tons of information and resources. We are putting together a resource packet that we're going to put on our website at invisibleangels.org. And the biggest thing is awareness. If you see something odd, say something. Let's say if you're going into a nail salon and I saw this recently, within the past 8 months. I went into a nail salon, and there was an older gentleman. He was in about 50s, and he was kind of gross looking. And he was with a young teenage girl. She was very kind of shell shocked, and he wouldn't be 6 inches away from her. And while she was getting a pedicure, he was just standing over her. That's not normal. Call 911. Yeah. Don't ever get involved because some of these people, in fact, most, if not all of these traffickers are extremely dangerous. And that's the one thing. If you see something, say something. And, it's better to have, kind of a false or a bad 911 call than a real trafficking situation that could have been stopped.
Yeah.
And number two is look out and partner with organizations like with us. I always say the biggest thing we need is people to partner with us anywhere between $10 and $25 a month. And I always hear, well, that's not a lot. And I said, it's a lot when 2,000 people do it.
Right.
We have our annual budget is around $362,000. And we do operate a private aircraft. Now we have begun work with Air Marshals and Department of Transportation. So we are using commercial flights because more and more we're getting requests to go cross country from Seattle to Boston, from Naples to Boston. So we are working with airlines now and providing first class travel for our survivors and advocates because that's God had told me to do that actually because that's how valuable these survivors are and they need to be shown that. And so we're working a lot with airlines. And in fact, we've done 10 rescue flights this month so far, and we have 2 others that we're planning today actually, and the numbers are increasing. But I would say just partner with us at $10 to $25 a month because if 1 to 3,000, even 4,000 people do it. There's our budget. Yeah. And we do have hotels, we have meals. We had a survivor just recently, an emergency call came in and the young woman had to leave where she was. It was a rescue situation and she didn't have any money. We found a safe house for her, but she had no food. So we were door dashing food to her while we can arrange safe transportation and get an advocate to down to her. and then find a bed in a safe home. So there are lots of other expenses, and there's rented cars and things like that. And but these are God's children, and they're extremely valuable to God. And this is Auschwitz level trauma. That's what really hit me in the very beginning. I just couldn't believe it was happening.
Well, and I think that's probably the reaction of most people. And as you said, especially the fact that it is such a big situation here in the United States. Well, we hear about missing children, every day kind of thing, and so that's would appear that's where some of those people are disappearing too. Well, our time is up, unfortunately. I've been talking today with Ted Greenfield about his book, God is in the Fight. So before you leave us, Ted, how can people find out more about your book, and give us the website again for your ministry?
You could just Google God is in this Fight, Human Trafficking, and it's on Amazon. There's also an audiobook available, and all proceeds of the book and the audiobook go directly to Invisible Angels. And our website is invisibleangels.org, and you could pop up on our website, and there's some videos and some media there, and you can also go to the Our Story tab there, and the book is also available directly from the publisher on that site.
Okay, fantastic. Again, the book is called God is in this Fight, How God Made a Way to Rescue Human Trafficking Survivors. I've been talking with Ted Greenfield, the founder of Invisible Angels, and thank you so much, Ted, for spending some time with us today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Wonderful to meet you.
And to our listeners, if you missed any part of today's interview, this would be another great one to share with other people. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform or through kneo.org. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Roberta Foster on the Author's Corner. Join me again next time.